Number 2 has been named Donatello, and I have way too much money because I did some off-camera mining. So I don't have a huge plan for the episode today, but we were doing some running on the Discord server earlier, and when you spawn in still at the freight depot instead of over here, which it would be nice if I could control where you spawn, but for now I'm going to just get a class B, which I don't know what to name it yet, and then I'm going to give it the 3-axle tender, and then I might as well also buy a few passenger wagons. Probably didn't need 6 of them, but yeah. So now we have all of this consist, and I am just gonna do the GT thing of re-rail the locomotive onto a different track, and then re-rail the cars onto the yard track. And for the yard tracks, I might just have it next to these iron thingies. These passenger cars won't be useful in hauling freight, but they will be useful in transporting players and like doing just like roleplay or whatever for when we run on the Discord. And if you join the Discord, which link in description, I do give out the password, and then you can run trains. And just like yesterday when we were running trains, that got me 120,000, and now I'm down to 90,000 after buying all of this consist. And there is one more purchase that I do need to make, which is the scrapping of these cars and their replacement with the longer cars. So let's couple a locomotive up and bring them to the scrapyard. Locomotive, and scrapyard, and scrapped. And finally, we purchase the longer wagons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which later I will put into the correct track, but for now I do actually want to get on with some track work, because a lot of this old track work is kind of bad and I want to remake it. Kind of starting with this farm and the sandbar, which may look fine up here in the air. Just left to lobby by accident. If I leave this bit in the video, petition to Greg to add a confirmation button to return to lobby. Okay, so we're back after I managed to accidentally hit return to lobby instead of turn highlights off. But as the track's still loading, what I wanted to say is this route round here to the sandbar is slightly ridiculous, and that curve is nowhere near built for the high speeds that I take the line out from this way at, which is slightly annoying. So what I want to do is I want to fix this line, maybe fix this track Y thingy-bob, and somehow I avoided an issue that I keep having whenever I make Ys inside of tunnels here, where the walls get so close to the track that if you try to pass them, the train automatically just either can't get past or derails, which is a very annoying bug, and I tend to have to build the switch inside of a tunnel whenever I do that. But anyways, I'm gonna, ignoring this mess, which I have to refix and re-scrap those cars because I accidentally quit to lobby, I'm going to fire up that locomotive once I fix that, and I'm going to head over to Sandbar, and then we're going to start fixing. Part of the reason for getting this locomotive as the number 3 locomotive is that it is, to my knowledge from scrolling through the menus, the fastest locomotive that there is. So having this locomotive and the passenger wagons allows for very rapid people transport, which also kind of makes it a good works locomotive, because what I need when I'm in a works locomotive is the ability to like move it around and relocate it quite quickly, which also worked with number 2, but like it's technically slightly slower, so if I want to get end to end on the map, it would still technically take a bit longer. Actually, before we start working on the Sandbar farm thing, something that I do want to sort out is actually this curve right here at the machine shop, which instead of having the switch off like there, actually I want it here, which I used the wrong switch, and I so like that, and then we're using a lot less space to achieve the exact same thing. And then bingo bango, we have the setup. And also something that bugs me is that the obvious straight through for this yard doesn't really make much sense, and also the entire bauxite just area kinda should be reworked, but the first thing to rework will be this bit at the farm. Where is my locomotive? My locomotive's running away from me. But yeah, so that's the runaround track there, done. And then we can head off, finish the farm, or sort out the farm. Okay, so we're here at the farm, and I feel like most of you will be able to see what I don't like about it, and this is that it just diverts off right for absolutely no reason. I'm going to delete all of this, including that curve, and including that segment of the Y. Grade on, curve on, just go straight outwards, like to around here. And then we have two switch offs, one there and one immediately after it. And then this one, does this look reasonable? Yeah, that looks reasonable. We'll build that to there, and then this one we pull that track outwards slightly and then build that there. And actually that could probably afford to be a little bit shorter there to make a nicer curve. And then this whole farm area just immediately becomes a lot nicer to look at. One thing that is slightly annoying is the first slope into the machine shop is about 2.6%. So since we're fixing up this area, I'm going to delete all this track here, and then I'm going to change up how it approaches to the machine shop. Maybe I could try going down by like 1% and then curving around. I don't know yet, but for now let's just do 280 just to induce a little bit of curve here perhaps. I try with the switches to make for more high-speed operations, to make the primary switch out, like the direction that you're going to go through most of the time, the straight option, because otherwise it derails you. Because I would personally quite like to see a wider switch, maybe like 280 like for high-speed operations, but I don't know if that's something that they want to add to the game, and I don't even know if that would make sense in the game or thematically or whatever. So but it would be nice if it were possible to see more switches, like wider turnouts in the game. Right, if I build out this way at 1%, what does this say? 3% still. So actually, I don't really mind this route being slightly longer, as long as it's not a humongous climb out of the machine shop. And actually, for the first bit out of the machine shop, I do actually kind of want a 0% for a short amount of it. So let's just set that to minus 280. Just because if I'm switching cars and stuff, then it is very annoying having the immediate exit be a immediate downhill. So, trees. So just not having an immediate exit into a downhill and having that instead be flat is so much more useful. Actually, I should probably build this at 1.5%, because it doesn't really matter what percent we actually do build it at. Instead of starting to go around, I think we can still go left and just hug this farm a bit more. And we are sort of reaching the height where stone embankment does become quite useful, so let's go minus. Actually, for just a short segment, we'll go 0 and then minus 280, which will let us go around. Ooh, just slightly trampling over those crops, which doesn't really physically matter, but is slightly sad. Okay, what does the slope say? At 0.8%, so we can just return to being that, which then means that we can build outwards like so. And does... oh, I just realised that this is now 0.8%, which is not the intended outcome, so minus 0.8. Build mode, let's just build that out a little bit. And if I turn this off, ease the reasonable curve, maybe. Okay, yeah, no, I like that. And then this, just turn highlights on, because the rain means that it's a bit dark. This curve out and around means that we can A, take it at higher speed, and B, we get a bit flat outside of the machine shop, just for switching cars out and arranging new sets of trains, which is very useful. Actually, while we're here, something that I might also look at is having a track objects leftwards facing switch out to set up even more trains, which if we go planner and parallel to track guide, that no. What about him wrestling with these menus here? Planner. Does my left click work? Yeah, it does. Okay. Then if we do that, let's just temporarily turn highlight. Apparently my mouse clicker stopped registering half the time. But if we do that, that is... I'm not sure I like that actually, but maybe for the other side, instead of this side, we can do that. So let's try that. Yes, okay, I do kind of like this. It does give us more freedom when setting up and switching cars, and we can have just this extra track for storing cars whilst they're being set up to go to places, or just like if we need a location that's not in the yard to store them, because the yard is more just like you're parking them away for a while as opposed to storing them there a few minutes whilst your other trains are either passing or going around doing something else. We have 73,000 cash. So the first thing I'm going to use is the vehicle on wheels that this game has, and then clear out these trees. Might run up to another change that I want to make, which is to build an entire proper yard at the coal mine that we have set up, which will be best explained once we're actually there. Okay, so all the trees have now been cleared out, and now I am going to run up to the coal mine, and then at the coal mine I'm just going to build a miniature yard thing. It's not going to have a scrapper or a engine buying place, but it will have probably a few stub tracks to store cars in, maybe an engine shed to keep an engine, and it's going to have a coaling tower. And that does remind me that several points on the map do need a coaling tower that I don't have set up yet. So whilst the train runs, the farm's actually pretty close to the thing. I have just noticed that I completely forgot about the fact that I was also going to do the Sandbar reforms before I did anything else, because that is a 3% grade and that corner is kind of painful. So scratch what I said about coal place for now, but I will be doing coaling station. Food factory, yes. Ironworks. For now, I might stick it here, but I'm gonna move it at some point there. There's gonna be one close by if you're over the freight depot, and then once we sort out the Sandbar route, then the coal mine will get it. Oh, and there we go. Into the mud. Alright, so track objects. Can I re-rail a locomotive onto the 90 degrees? Because if so, then I might just store the locomotive here. Okay, apparently yes you can, but not in the way that I thought it would work. Okay, so how best do we want to get to the Sandbar? Considering I do kind of want to delete that curve, which would then necessitate either a really sharp curve left or right. So it's temporarily for now just set that. If I did 280, that would just barely cut in. If I do minus 280, slightly annoying because that would tunnel in, and then if I set it to 2% grade, that would just barely emerge, and then we could turn around and head to the farm, maybe. Because the issue is direct route is 3%, so I want to take a sort of diversionary route. Actually, I think for now I'll go left. Then I want to have a switch somewhere that doesn't have a wall on it, just so I don't accidentally get the really annoying wall switch issue thingy-mabob. That's the wrong one. We want this one because of the exit track. And then we can connect that up. I did not tell it to set it to stone embankment, so I don't know what happened when it set itself to that. So the route out of here, by default, is 2.6%, which is quite steep for my tastes. So I might go left at 2% instead, and go around like such. And then we need to curve back at minus 280. And I'm doing 280 because that's the sharpest turn that I want to have. Okay, so that is actually too far. So if we then instead build out like that, right, what is the gradient like? 3% still, so actually, instead of turning back, what I might instead do, cut slightly more towards the farm, and actually no, I don't like this. I think that we can just settle for a 2.5% probably. So, oh, okay, that's wrong. Minus 2.5. Okay, and then what is this result? I can't tell if it's me misclicking or the game not recognizing that I am trying to click, or whether my mouse is just broken right now. But I do seem to be having issue. Okay, short amount of 4.5% for entirely 2%. Surely can't be that bad, right? But yeah, the route in and out of the sandbar is now a lot less aggressive, so I like that better than it was beforehand. So let's delete that track. Let's grab the locomotives. Let's make our way onto the coal mine and make the coal mine yard that I was talking about like 20 seconds earlier. Okay, I might try to figure out later a better way of doing this, and that might involve going up around this raised piece of land, but that would involve a bit of tunnelling. But for now, it works, and I'm happy enough with it, and shouldn't be taking heavy trains with weak locomotives through there anymore. Only like light trains, but then there's the farm there, which is like the last industry you would actually need for that. There is the question of if I turn a bunch of this spline into the trestle spline instead of the stone spline. I might do it here just to see does that look nicer, kind of. So I'll do that again here, and I'll do that again here, and the kind of idea of this is that it just breaks up the slab of grey that it was before, which, oh, we're going the wrong way. I did fix this Y off camera because it kind of derailed you as soon as you went on it, and also the wall issue when kind of tunnelling did mean that the Y here I did have to sort of remake, and I have decided probably next episode I'm going to actually delete this tunnel and not replace it, and instead feed the quarry into either the bauxite mine or the shipyard, and that will be the way into this forest camp and ironworks and distillery, considering that there is actually a second Y in here. Actually, it'll be faster for us to go up if we do this. You still derail if you go down here at high speed, but if you go slow enough, it is actually a very convenient route for taking iron ore hoppers through here and around through the Y, through the tunnel, through the distillery into the ironworks directly, as opposed to having to run from here, brickworks, farm, sandbar, farm, machine shop, bauxite, food factory, forest camp, and then the ironworks. It's very nice to have that just Y in there to go direct. Why is my mouse not being normal? Okay, there we go. One thing I am considering is building like a 4%, maybe 5% line up to the coal and iron area, just because, yes, the 2% works, and I really like the 2%, and it works for weak locomotives as well. the thing is, it's very long and takes quite a long time, so it is the trade-off of, do you want to travel further but be able to take more weight per train, or do you want to travel less far but you can't take as much weight per train? So I think I might consider making a switch off and then like going around the mountain this way instead, and then just having a sharp drop off instead of this really long nice track. But that would be a future, maybe like 2 or 3 episodes down the line thing. Although, sort of speaking of which, considering that I've connected every industry, I don't know what type of content I could make on this world next, so give me ideas in the comments of if I should continue making content on this world, or if I should just give out the save ID and then play either another game or another world, or do something different like that. Okay, we are closing in on the coal mine, and I might need to rework this tunnel. Might need to rework this tunnel a little bit with what I have planned. Oh, and also I was sort of overproducing coal at one point, so I did place an abundance of these industries. Let me just check that we're not... Okay, we're still slightly oversaturated on tools, but what I might now do is... that goes in further than I thought it would. But if I do a switch off there, 2.6, why is it trestle? Okay, straight track. 2.6%, which is very slightly annoying. 2.5 when it's not trestle, but then out here I can actually start to make ourselves a yard, so what then might be done here is, actually we could have... I'm just debating in my head how best to do the yard, so I think out this way. Why does it keep changing track type? Out this way we can have like, maybe here we could do a... I've always wanted to build one of these. Maybe we could do that here on this track. Just have a secondary flat track to do all this with. And I am going to have to replace this industry guide. Oh, and then actually here, off of here, we could have a minerals loader. Mineral goods. I don't know if coal counts as a mineral good, but if it does, then we could have that there, and then we can just have an extra loading and unloading track. I'm gonna stone embankment. Although actually I could make it all industrial track instead. So like this, and then track objects, buffers. Then we can have these tracks here be like car storage or something, whilst we wait for the industry to do its thing, or like wait for other trains to pass. Then coming out of this stub here, we can then have like engine works, so not the building of the train works, but just like places to work on the engines. So then coming out this way, we would then have engine shed, like so, and then at the sides, maybe here a coaling station, because we do need just a coaling station in general for this industry. And then maybe out here we could just have places to store the locomotives, like so. And then track objects, buffers, buffer, and then buffer, and then we're going to cover all of these switches with industrial track, no rail, like so. And then we get a nice yard like this that we can do things with and store wagons and have this loader an extra platform. I wonder what happens if I... okay, it just acts an extension of that, which is kind of what the description says. But in the interest of not wasting your time, I will end this episode right here. Goodbye.